Thank you, Todd. My name is Larry Miller. I'm a new member of the school board. I've been on the board for slightly over 3 months. Thanks a lot, Jennifer. This is all about the money. We're talking about $400 million for the state. It's being dangled out in front of us. There was no real talk about reform in the city of Milwaukee, no real support for the school board, no real support for Milwaukee Public Schools until this money was dangled before us. Right now what you're witnessing is a new school board, a united school board that is working very closely together. Director Bonds is at the meeting right now that President Bonds is at the meeting that Director Blewett is the chair of, and I'm supposed to be at that meeting, but I said I would stay here. We are a board that's working together, and I don't have to be there to outvote anybody. We are a united school board that is fighting for our children. This model that's being forced upon us by the dangle of the money is what I call the corporate model for how we should run the schools. And of course, if you look at corporate America right now, they haven't shown us much direction. But if you look at what's going on in the so-called example cities, the urban cities that must go to mayoral change if they're to get the money from the Department of Education, you can see what is happening. You can look at Chicago, for example. Duncan just left Chicago, and there was just a report that came out from a very conservative group called the Commerce Club of Chicago. Their civic committee put forward a report that looked at 7 of the past years of student results, and they said they were absolutely flat in the city of Chicago, in Chicago public schools. Even though we've heard great claim to increase scores. Well, what was the change? The state legislature in Illinois changed how kids were tested. And what this report from a very conservative group, like I said, the Civic Committee of the Commerce Club of Chicago stated that the only change was how kids were tested and how they were approaching. That was the great improvement that we're supposed to use as an example. Now, if you go to New York with Klein, he was appointed. Absolutely no democracy whatsoever in how the schools are being run, and we have a higher graduation rate. We can show higher data, better data than the city of New York, yet that is being put forward as the model. That is supposed to be what we're supposed to emulate. Totally anti-democratic. There's a recent incident that happened in New York called the Monday Night Massacre. Klein, the CEO of New York Public Schools, wants sixth graders retained, just as he had done in other grades. And his appointed school board was going to vote against it. So on the day of the vote, he removed 3 of the board members and replaced them on that very day so that he could get the vote. Totally anti-democratic approach to his appointed school board. So this is the sort of thing that is being claimed is supposed to be getting results. You can go to CEO Rhee in Washington, D.C., who's fired administrators and teachers. You can go to Vallis in New Orleans. And the same thing is true in all of these cities. It is a corporate model. What we need in the city of Milwaukee is a true reform model, and that's what the new school board is trying to enact, and that's what people need to get involved and active in this model. Now, this means we have to make sure that school by school is successful, and that means leaders have to lead or leave. That means they have to get in the hallways. They have to be curriculum instructors. They have to go into the MRP rooms, the most restricted placement rooms, not just when there's a problem and yell at the teachers, but when things are successful and help those new teachers. We have MTech, first-year teachers all over the district who are teaching in the most difficult classrooms, the most restricted placement, EBD, emotionally disturbed behavior children. It's the most difficult classroom. I did it for a number of years. I know exactly what I'm talking about. But we have to reform. We have are going to ensure that we're successful. And as Director Blewett spoke about, we are doing many things, but we have to take on reform in a way that is going to show real change on the ground and not this top-down sort of thing. Now, what Mayor Barrett is talking about is, of course, this top-down corporate model. But if you look at poverty in this city, his model doesn't work. If you look at jobs in this city, for example, among black men on the north side of Milwaukee, where it's at least 60% unemployment, his model does not work. If you look at transportation in this city, it's being pulled back. It does not work. Maybe you can, if you own a car, you can get to some of the jobs that are still out in the suburbs, but the chassis of your car isn't going to survive the potholes. There's a pothole by the corner of my house that I've been calling the street department for. I've stopped calling the street department. I'm not calling the DNR. I want them to declare it as a state park. Okay, so because it looks so much like Devil's Lake that, you know, maybe we can make some money off of it. But this is what we're dealing with. A mayor that cannot lead this city and come up with creative ways to change how we live and exist, wants to take over the school district. It's a diversion. It's smoke and mirrors, and he wants to use the smoke and mirrors of New York, of Washington, D.C., of Chicago, and of New Orleans. And I say we must oppose this every way we can. We must get organized, and for administrators in the schools, they must lead, and for teachers, we must teach. We must be harder on ourselves than we are on anybody else, and we can drive reform in this city. We can do it differently than we see it in all these other cities. And I say we can do it. Si se puede. Thank you.